Hey guys, about a week or so ago I was out at my local scrapyard and I came across this 12-volt hydraulic pump. So I grabbed it because, it looked in really good condition. It was kind of an all-in-one pump. It had the reservoir, the pump, and the motor. So I grabbed it. It's real clean. It was in a weather-tight box, and not far away from it I found this gauge and hose. And I also got another hose, but it's about 2 meters long, so I have it in that bin for storage, because I don't need something that long right just yet. So here's the main motor right here, and I think this is the pump right here. And then it has a reservoir, and it only has what looks like one place for the fluid to go. So I think that in order to return the fluid, you would apply downward pressure on the cylinder, which would force the fluid back into the reservoir. So that's kind of a limitation in other applications, because maybe you could rig up a hose to fit in there and, I don't know, get some valve or something. But I think it's a pretty limited system, but it is really in good condition, so I think I'll give it a test out and see if it works. So to start the pump, obviously this big fat red wire is 12 volts, and this is like a starting contact. So you could operate this with a small push button, because this is going to draw a fair bit of current, so you wouldn't want to run that through a small switch. So what you do is you apply 12 volts to this little wire, which closes the contact. The case is negative, but there is like a little volt point down there for the negative. And to start the pump, you also need to apply 12 volts to this little thing. This is like a pressure release, because it would be pretty hard to start the pump under load. So this somehow disengages a pump or releases the pressure or something. If you apply 12 volts to that and try to run the pump, it won't pump. It will start the motor, but no fluid will come out. So once the motor starts, you disconnect 12 volts from that and it will start pumping. I had a full tank of oil. I didn't have to add any. It's this just this pink hydraulic fluid. So yeah, I'm gonna try to test this on this hydraulic gear motor, which I found nearby. I won't be too upset if this doesn't work. I really want to get a cylinder. I'll just have to pull one off a forklift that's out there or something. I had to get a bunch of fittings to get the size right. This is like a 3/8 to I don't know, 1 inch or something. So I had to get a lot of fittings to fit that. And then on the other side, there's this kind of strange hydraulic fitting. I know that it's a standard fitting, but there wasn't any out there. And at the local hardware store, they didn't have one. So I'm gonna have to like set that on that bucket to keep it from making a mess. So I think I'll fire this pump up and see what it does. Well, it was building pressure, but the motor wasn't spinning. Yeah, I guess the motor doesn't work. The pump definitely works. You could see on the gauge it was building at 300 psi. And it was definitely putting out oil. My little tub that the motor is sitting on is almost full. But the motor was not spinning, so I guess it's time to do a little teardown on the motor and see what's inside of it. Well, when I was taking the hose off, I made one hell of a mess. That pink hydraulic fluid went everywhere. I set it on some towels to keep it from doing that, but it seems like one side of that motor was still full of oil after I had spun it with a wrench and tried to cut the oil out and let it drain for a while, but it's still full. So I'll clean up this mess and we can get on with the autopsy. Alright, I've just loosened up the bolts here. I haven't actually opened it yet, so I'm going to take the bolts out. We'll see what's inside. Alright, here's the top cover. I might need like a screwdriver to pry this open. Alright. Here is the top part. It's pretty thick metal. There's just 2 slots for these 2 things. I'm assuming those are the gears. It looks like you have a seal that just goes in here. That could have been why it wasn't working if it wasn't in there. So that's pretty much it for the top. There's another seal around here. Alright, here's the presumably the 2 gears. So I'm gonna try to pop those out. Looks like there's like a metal plate holding them down. So we can just pop this right up. So it looks like this was just holding the 2 gears in place. I guess that's all it does. Yes, and there are the 2 gears right here. Let's see if I can pop one out. Oh. This is going to be messy. So here's the main gear. I guess this is the one with the output shaft. And there's also another gear. I don't know if I can get the other one out. It's pretty tight and slippery. Well, I'm just gonna leave it in there. You can trust me, it looks just like this. And that's all that's in there. I'm gonna put this one back in here and try to show you how it looked when I opened it. Alright, here's the 2 gears. So what I think happens is when fluid comes in this way through the valve right here, it's forced to go either around these 2 or through the center, and if it goes around, these 2 gears aren't going to be able to turn, so it would be easier to go through the center, and when it does, it should turn like this, or the other way. So, I mean, that's a really simple motor. I'm not sure why it didn't work, but that's all that's in there. It's really nice machine. Those are really tight. There's no seal or anything. It's just in there really tight. So I'm gonna put it back together and try to clean up this mess. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Leave me a comment, tell me what you thought.